The anime begins when Sanemi and Obanai team up and get to a beat-up castle. Demons have made it their hideout, and now they have kidnapped the villagers and taken them there. Just recently, a demon had kidnapped a woman, but they weren't too late. That demon was taking her to his hideout, but he sensed the approaching danger. Sanemi, the badass, gets in first. The whole demon gang was ready to jump on them. One of them targeted the weakling, but Obanai saved him. Sanemi and Obanai started their hack and slash together. And I must say, their action is something. But Obanai told those two to get out because they were getting in their way. They felt something was wrong because demons don't gather at this scale. Sanemi gets in first and kills the horde of them with his wind breathing. The following strike comes from Obanai and his serpent breathing technique. The demon realized they were hashira and ran away from them. Lower demons kept interfering with Sanemi, and there was no end to it. So, Obanai tells Sanemi to leave the small ones to him and focus on the hostage. That demon had no chance of winning because it's Sanemi we're talking about. He made a blood shower from them. So the demon threw the girl to save his own life, but Obanai got her. After that, they followed the demon, and guess what? They just jumped into the Infinity Castle. This made my heart skip a beat because I thought a bloodbath was about to happen. Sanemi saw the demon, but in an instant he was outside in the same area where he had left. Both of them couldn't understand what they had just seen, but at least all the demons had fled, so their mission was a success. Then Kanao completed her mission and returned home, where she reported it to Shinobu. Shinobu told Kanao about the incident at Swordsmith Village. Now that Nezuko has overcome the sun, things are going to be hectic because Muzan will surely come after Nezuko to get a demon who is not affected by the sun. For this, Shinobu is going to a hashira meeting, so she asked Kanao to look after Nezuko for her. And this time, it's a request. There starts the hashira arc. On the other side, Tanjiro learned that the people of Swordsmith Village are relocating their village. But it was still miraculous that it took to kill 2 upper ranks in this fight. After that fight, Tanjiro was unconscious for a week. Right after waking up, he was eating non-stop. He learned from Mitsuri that eating is good, but she eats way more than normal. Mitsuri's effect had gotten into Tanjiro now, but more so, that guy asked Tanjiro about Nezuko because she overcame the sun. Tanjiro said she's being examined for that. Shinobu and Tamayo are both looking into it. After this, the Hashiras are having a meeting. Sanemi and Obanai arrived late because of their mission, but they heard about the Upper Moon demons. Gyomei was happy they didn't lose any Hashira this time, or else it could have weakened the Demon Slayer Corps. But then their master's wife, Amani, came in to take the place of her husband, Kagaya, because his health was deteriorating. She had to take over now, so she apologized that he couldn't attend any of the duties from now on. But none of the Hashira had any objections and bowed their heads to honor her. Now to the main topic. As they all knew about Nezuko overcoming the sun, it has raised the dangers of war. But in the recent fight of Upper Moon, Amane got the report that Love and Mist have gotten a pattern on their body. Amane told them that during the first period of Demon Slayer, they almost got Muzan, and they all had marks on them. But this info was kept secret because many tormented themselves for not being able to manifest that mark. But there were still many other reasons for not passing this info as well. Yet there was one thing written: if one Demon Slayer awakens the mark, then others will follow suit. But the first one who got this mark was Tanjiro. If you all remember the fight at the entertainment district, at the end, that mark on his head was formed while killing Jutaro. Now, other two have gotten that type of mark, so Amane wants to know how they awakened themselves. Mitsuri goes first and explains it in her own way. She was explaining things in a different language, so no one understood. So Muchiro took her place and told everyone he felt anger when he saw the kid in danger. It raised his heart rate up to 200 per minute, and he had a temperature of 39 degrees. Normally, it could have been life-threatening, but that's the point. It's to go through a life or death situation, so that means everyone has to go through that to awaken that mark. But Amane tells them that whoever awakens their marks will have no choice. Even I don't know what she said, but looking at them all in silence, I guess they will be the chosen ones to fight Muzan. After that, Amane leaves, and Giyu wanted to leave as well, but they have to decide as a group what they should do next about the training. But Giyu refused to take part in training others, and no one liked him being so indifferent like this. But Gyomei raised the pressure and told Sanemi to sit down for the discussion. Aside from them, the Thunder Boy returned back from his mission. He was on cloud 9 to see the girl, but more so when he saw his dream girl, he lost his mind. She welcomed him, and Zenitsu lost himself even more because she was talking to him. But Nezuko actually said, "Welcome, Inosuke," and now that marks the death warrant for the boar. Well, Inosuke was around Nezuko after he recovered, and he was teaching her how to speak his name, so that's how this mess happened. Haganezuka comes to Tanjiro to give his new sword. It had the sword guard of Rengoku, but instead of its maker, the sword only had the word slay, because the one who made it had one goal, to slay demons. After that, only Hashira got the sword with slay words, but he was still pissed that Tanjiro broke another one of his swords. After a bit of tantrums, he left. And there, Inosuke made his breaking entry, and the Hashira made their plan for training others. Yomei planned to ask retired Hashira for their help in training as well, and no one had any objection. All of them were on his side, and this news was spread to the Demon Corps. Tanjiro was looking forward to it, and that irritated Zenitsu because he just got back from his mission, and he wanted to rest up. But Tanjiro told him that in Swordsmith Village, the thunder breathing move he taught him came in extremely handy, so maybe learning something from this training would surely help them in the future as well. Zenitsu got his mood changed in an instant hearing his praise. After this, the hellish training starts. Tengen was the first one who took the job to train the weaklings in the basics of body strengthening and stamina training. His 3 wives also made a nice lunch for all of them. And not just the chickens, even Hashira are supposed to improve themselves in this training. Then Sanemi took over for sword strike training, and Mitsuri was turning them flexible for the fight. Obanai took the job for swordsmanship, and Tokito was teaching them how to get fast. But last of all was Gyomei with his heavy mass training. After that, Tanjiro got the message from Giyu for some reason, and there, Amane was taking care of Kagaya. He thanked Amane for staying with him through thick and thin, and she broke into tears knowing her husband's end is near, but somewhere far away, Kagaya's crow found Tamayo. The crow cleared up that he had no intention of harming her, but she's a demon, so it's normal she didn't trust the Demon Slayer Corps. So the crow got down to business and told her that Shinobu is an excellent person in pharmacology in the Demon Slayer Corps. They want Tamayo to work with Shinobu and look into Nezuko's transformation to find a way to defeat Muzan. So, the crow invited Tamayo to the Demon Slayer hideout, but Tamayo is puzzled because she's a demon at the end. So what will happen to her if she goes there? She's a demon, so it was natural for her to be on guard. She asked the crow about Yoshiro, and the crow says he has no ill intentions. They could hear the footsteps of Yoshiro coming down in a hurry. So now, Crow gets to the point and tells Tamayo that Shinobu of the Demon Slayers is also well versed in demon physiology and pharmaceuticals. They want Tamayo to work with her to find out about Nezuko's change and to find a way to defeat Muzan. For that, the Demon Slayer Corps invited Tamayo to Kagaya's mansion. Tamayo is a demon, so how could she walk herself into the headquarters of the Demon Slayers? This might become her last move if she goes there. Here Yoshiro came down, understood the gist of it, and thought of moving out. But now that Nezuko has conquered the sun, things are changing. Possibly, this change started long ago. So now they have to leave as it will be their last move because Tamayo made up her mind to go to Kagaya's mansion. On the other hand, Kagaya sent a message to Tanjiro about Giyu not participating in the training. Kagaya is unable to even move due to his health, but the time is crucial for them. So he wants Tanjiro to talk with Giyu because he always thinks he's all alone. So Tanjiro decided to talk with Giyu and asked Aoi for some advice. He wants to know how to console a person to let him know that he is not alone. Aoi says if she's in that place, then she would like to be left alone. Then Aoi told Tanjiro to wait for a moment and went off. She came back and gave him some rice balls for him and that person. With it, Tanjiro goes off and gets to Giyu's house. He was calling him out, but Giyu never responded to his calls. So Tanjiro said he's coming in, but Giyu thought he heard that he's leaving. Then there he comes in, and the guy sits close to Giyu, or rather, too close. There, Tanjiro asked Giyu to train him, but Giyu said no. Tanjiro could feel Giyu is angry, so Giyu said Tanjiro was supposed to become a water hashira, but he didn't master the water breathing. But Tanjiro had talked to Urokodaki about this, and he said changing breathing style isn't uncommon. But Giyu wants Tanjiro to become a water hashira sooner, because there's no water hashira right now. Then what about him? So Giyu said he's not the water hashira. So Tanjiro has to start his work to convince this ice guy. For that, he goes over and drops the rice balls he brought for him. The next morning, Tanjiro never left and saw Giyu eat the treat. Then he started to follow around Giyu everywhere, even when he was on patrol around the town. Tanjiro's stubbornness gave him sleepless nights, and from then on, the stalking game begins. Tanjiro didn't even leave the toilet alone, so this has become bothersome. There, Giyu finally opened up and told that he never passed the final test that year. He took part in it with a boy named Sabito. At the time, both were of the same age, 13, and Sabito had a strong sense of justice with a kind heart. So it didn't take long for both of them to get along. On the day of trials, Sabito killed all the demons on his own, giving a spectacular performance. Giyu was wounded by the first demon he came across, and Sabito saved him. But someone screamed for help, and Sabito left Giyu in the care of those two guys. The next time he woke up, he was in a house. He survived for 7 days, and Sabito died. So, basically, Giyu passed but failed in the selection. He never accepted the title of Water Hashira, and that's why he thinks he's not worthy as the other Hashira, and told Tanjiro to train under other Hashira. Tanjiro knew this feeling very well, knowing that you should have died instead of someone else, like Rengoku, who sacrificed himself to save everyone. At the time, Tanjiro also felt he should have died instead of him, but Rengoku said he believes in him, so he should measure up to Rengoku's expectations. But what could he say to the same person as him? It can be a word of comfort because Giyu has trained hard himself to become a Hashira. That's why he told Giyu that he should pass down what Sabito left to him. That reminded him of the past when Sabito slapped Giyu because he thought he should have died. He reminds him that his sister, who was about to marry, gave up her life in that demon attack so that he could live. She entrusted him with the future, so he shouldn't insult her like that. That made him realize, in that moment, Giyu remembers the long days of pain, but also the hope Sabito and his sister passed to him. Seeing him in silence, Tanjiro thought he crossed the line. So to make up for it, he thinks to challenge Giyu for an eating contest. There, Giyu was about to say the training session, but before that, Tanjiro asked him for an eating contest. Surprisingly, Giyu even accepted that, and there he asked what Shinobu was teaching him. Now that's an interesting question. Shinobu wanted to calm down her erupting feelings, but nope, she cracked instantly. Then Kanao comes in as she wanted to train with Shinobu after she trains with Stone and Wind Hashira, but Shinobu won't be taking part in training yet. Kanao wanted to train some more with her, so Shinobu decided to tell Kanao about the demon who killed her big sister Kanae, and how to kill that demon. Tengen was training the weaklings as usual and targeted the laziest one among them. He didn't let him leave until he used his full stamina to run forward. Tengen was tasked with increasing their stamina, which is the basic of training. If they're this weak, then they can't train with any other Hashira. Seeing one guy in pain, the others started to work out diligently. Tanjiro comes in with full spirit to start his training. Tengen was happy that Tanjiro was in one piece, even after fighting 2 upper moon demons. That lifted his spirit even more, so Tanjiro started to work out and impressed everyone with his stamina and will. He was rather too happy, and then he went to meet with Tengen's wife. They were happy to see him again. Tengen was making others complete their meal, or else he threatened to double their training. Nutrients are important for training, so Tanjiro also took his share. One guy wanted to swap places with his friend because he had night patrol duty, which means he wouldn't have to take morning training. But his friend refused. They were all disappointed in the end. The guy goes for the night duty with his partner. They were talking about how demons are showing up less nowadays, and suddenly his friend disappeared in the darkness. The long-faced guy got scared thinking it could only be a demon's work, but his friend just pulled a prank on him, nothing more. These types of pranks are dangerous. Suddenly they heard rustling of rats, so they ran off to complete their patrol duties. The upper rank 4 was spying on them. The next morning, with another hellish training, Tanjiro was the only one with high spirits. No one else did, and others understood they needed at least that much stamina to fight the upper rank demons. They asked about upper rank demons, and Tanjiro was influenced by Mitsuri. He explained how strong they are in Mitsuri's style, but no one understood anything at all. Now it was the last training for them, so Tengen decided to send them to the mountains. His wives knew Tengen is gentle on the inside. Just the other day when a kid didn't arrive, he didn't eat his meal and went looking for him. Tengen heard it all and said he feels responsible because Kagaya has entrusted them to him. So Tanjiro also went to run around the mountain and remembered he had to eat noodles to win against Giyu. He bet that if he wins, Giyu had to join the training. Giyu could have eaten more, but he said if Tanjiro could finish this last batch, he could win. Tanjiro had to gobble it up. On the other side, Obanai meets Sanemi at a shrine. Both of them knew the Demon Slayer members would be useless against upper ranks, but that's not important. Sanemi was still wondering about the place he saw with Obanai, the Infinity Castle. In their last mission, those demons disappeared in a flash without a trace in that castle, so they could only guess what they saw. Obanai searched through everything he could, but found nothing on that place. After that, the demons from that city just vanished like they were never there. But the gathering of demons on this scale makes it clear that they will target Nezuko without a doubt. Obanai can't help but feel anxious, like something is about to happen, and it's just the calm before the storm. Even so, Sanemi was feeling positive and had one thing in mind. Obanai also had the same thing in mind, to fight each other. Aside from that, Tanjiro was helping Tengen's wives in the kitchen and sat around to have a rest. They gave him tea, and Hina once again thanked Tanjiro for his help in the entertainment district. He and his friends helped them a lot, because if they missed even a single person, Tengen would have died. So they saved Tengen from that tragedy. But they all knew Tengen still wished to fight as he talks in his sleep. That is why Hina requests Tanjiro to defeat Muzan. After that, Tengen got a new idea of training in real combat. In this, he becomes a demon in the darkness, and they all have to survive. But Tanjiro has to save them and beat Tengen. Tengen was too fast for them as he kept reducing their numbers one by one. Tanjiro couldn't follow up his movement until he stopped. Those kids were scared to fight a former hashira, so Tanjiro gathered them and saved them from Tengen with just one hand attack. Yet Tanjiro barely handled his attack. Tanjiro was going toe-to-toe with him. The fight was intense between them, and seeing Tanjiro, others built up their confidence to come together. They all ganged up on Tengen, and the training ended in Tengen's favor. They still think they can't hope to fight a hashira, but they all believe Hashira and Tanjiro would defeat Muzan. So it woke up a new will inside of them to get stronger. Now Tanjiro could move on. Tengen leaves his hope on Tanjiro of defeating Muzan. Just like that, Tanjiro bids farewell to everyone and leaves to train with another hashira. The next one was none other than one of the strongest, Tokito of the mist breathing. Tokito was training the pups when Tanjiro arrived. There, he saw the intensity of the training as Tokito was beating all the pups to hone them into shape. Lesson number 1. Do not stop, even if some fall. Despite their dead eyes, they showed smiles. Just as he saw Tanjiro, Tokito's crow was, as usual, talking down on others. She's the same, always insulting everyone. Tokito took Tanjiro to a shed nearby where he saw Kanamori. It's been a while since the swordsmith village. Tokito then took one of the swords and told Tanjiro to hold it right while facing him. Not sure what it was, Tanjiro did as instructed. Tokito flew a paper plane, and it got cut right through the blade. It was an excellent sword, and that's why Tokito brought Kanamori to have his sword ready all the time. For this he requested Kagaya, and despite being bedridden, he still fulfilled his request, and even made this shed for Tokito. Then the training continued until sunset. Tokito was going too hard on them, and the tone he spoke with was also brutal, but that's just his way of training them. One of them told Tanjiro to talk with Tokito and ease up the training. However, Tokito is the one working harder than them as he keeps training them one by one. Still, they would appreciate it if Tokito would talk a little bit nicer. Honestly, it's heartbreaking. Tanjiro saw Tokito leaving to go somewhere. Others said he would come back by dinner time. As night fell, the Upper Moon 4 sent a whole army of her eyes. This is also terrifying. She saw Tokito on the roads as he was going to the shrine where Sanemi and Obenai were in the middle of a duel against each other. They were evenly matched. Then Tokito arrived, and both Sanemi and Obenai chose to fight Tokito together to show their respect. 2 versus 1, and this is probably why Tokito is one of the strongest hashira. Despite being the youngest, he holds his ground against 2 hashira. Their fight was really dangerous, and it should be to get better. Then Obanai asked Tokito about his daytime training. He said that Tanjiro came to him today. His wounds were pretty much healed, and he would be in top condition when he goes to Obanai. This is much better because Obanai wants to go all out to test Tanjiro. The same goes for Sanemi, as he thinks Tanjiro is still nowhere near hashira level. That sounds like a fun hard time for Tanjiro. The day again starts with training, but Tokito saw there wasn't enough motivation with the wooden swords, so he orders them to bring out real ones for training. That was nice, but the guy facing him was traumatized. He wasn't taking his stance, but Tokito told him to come. Just the stare was enough. Tanjiro tells Tokito to stop, and the guy broke off as he couldn't make even a single move. It seemed shameful to be scared, but Tokito praised him for not attacking blindly. Yet the guy knows he's weak. He sees Tokito every day washing up, covered in bruises, so he also made up his mind to work harder. But Tokito says he knows they are working hard, but they will be killed by demons before they know it, and Tokito doesn't want that to happen. Then a few days go by, and it's time for Tanjiro to have a spa with Tokito. He was doing well, and Tokito was teaching him all he could. Tokito was happy seeing that Tanjiro mastered all the things he taught him, so he told Tanjiro to move on to the next hashira. That was unbelievable for him. Others tried to butter up Tokito to let them move on as well, but a heartless no for them. They still have a long way to go with him. Then, out of the blue, Tanjiro challenges Tokito to a paper plane contest. He had already made his signature plane because he heard that Tokito was into paper planes. He got this information from Kanamori, as there were tons of Tokito's handiwork. So Tanjiro said if he wins, Tokito has to speak nicely with the kids. Tokito happily accepted the challenge, and the kids cried seeing how kind their bro was. Soon after that, the time came, and Tanjiro said if he wins 1 out of 10 rounds, he will be victorious. All they have to do is to make their planes fly longer. Kanamori became the judge, and the first round was taken by Tokito. The second was the same, the third was the same as usual, and the fourth, I don't think there is any difference. They went on just like that, and there was only one last chance left, and even that was lost. With it, Tokito won fair and square. One of the kids showed interest in challenging Tokito, and many stood up for the same to challenge Tokito for the plane battle and started making their own. All thanks to Tanjiro, the mood had gotten nice within everyone. Then he made a new one, and Tokito's crow snapped Tanjiro's plane. It was a peaceful moment as they were enjoying with a smile on their face. But how long will this smile be there on their face? Because the future is devastating, and that is why they should enjoy the present with everyone as much as they could. Afterwards, Tanjiro tells Tokito that Michael Jackson is coming after Nezuko. There were hardly any demons showing up, which indicates they are about to wage a war. That is why this hashira training session was held, to prepare for it. Tanjiro worries about Nezuko because now he can't take her out with him, or else it will just put her in danger. That is why he wants to grow stronger to protect his sister. Tokito likes how positive bro is, so Tanjiro says he can be that way because a very trustworthy person is looking after Nezuko, the former water hashira. Then it was time for some Mitsuri training. The energy was seen in both of them, and Tanjiro could smell the honey in the air. Mitsuri says she's raising bees for the honey because it goes well with the bread. So, she first took the guy inside to let him have a bite of it. Tanjiro bro didn't know how to eat, so Love Hashira showed him and fed him herself. Tanjiro loved pancakes, but the fun time was over, and she gave belts and dresses to all the boys for the training. It was to increase their flexibility to move accurately in battle, and for that they needed flexible legs as well. But they were doing it the wrong way, so Mitsuri showed the stretching. Damn, that's terrifying in more than one way. It could send the soul to heaven. Now it was time for Tanjiro. And there she goes. Because it's purely flexibility training, it ends quickly. And bro gets to Obanai, the natural hater of Tanjiro. Mitsuri told him everything about Tanjiro, and that is why he was quite jealous. The way Mitsuri talked about Tanjiro made it seem like he was having a lot of fun around her, which annoyed him. Mitsuri kept saying, Tanjiro this and Tanjiro that, so Obanai wanted to make his training extra hard. Why does it look like an execution hall? Obanai explained he has to dodge hitting them and swing the sword from between. Seriously, did they commit any crime to deserve this? From Obanai's point of view, they did, which is they wasted his time being weak and not learning faster. Basically, he's a nut job too. Then comes the training time, and Obanai showed such accuracy in his swings. Now it's time for Tanjiro, but their inner voices could be heard clearly. Please don't hit me, bro. Tanjiro hesitates on each of his swings because one hit and they're seriously injured. Obanai becomes his opponent and Tanjiro gets hit for being hesitant. This was officially the most difficult training until now. Obanai just keeps hitting him, bending his sword in an unnatural angle like a snake. The poor souls were still shouting from their inner voices that Tanjiro could hear clearly. Don't hit me. That's why he keeps getting beaten up. He knew he had to be accurate with his swing, but still nothing came out of it. Tanjiro kept training even after Obanai left because he didn't want to be a burden. Seeing him, others joined in as well. The hot water bath after getting beaten up will sting, so they dipped in together to share the pain. Day 2 began again with the usual routine, but still no progress at all. On day 3, Obanai kept going harder and harder, and on day 4, Tanjiro got the idea to imagine he's in nature. That improved his skills to escape and attack Obanai. Obanai's sleeves got slashed, which gave Tanjiro the certificate that he passed and should move on. But Tanjiro still got a warning to stay away from Mitsuri. Then it was time to train with Sanemi, and suddenly Tanjiro saw his life flashing in front of him. Zenitsu officially became Spider-Man to run away from training, but Sanemi caught him red-handed. Now, train or die is the only thing Zenitsu has. That's why Sanemi made him unconscious to take him back. Tanjiro tried to be familiar, but Sanemi still didn't approve of him. No worries, Tanjiro doesn't like him either since he stabbed Nezuko. Tanjiro pulled the Uno reverse card on Sanemi. The training with Sanemi is purely brawl, which explains why Zenitsu was so scared. Sanemi beats them to a pulp non-stop, and even Obane gives them more breaks. Sanemi was particularly harsh on Tanjiro. One wrong move and Tanjiro is done for. A single day of training did a number on him. He heard two brothers talking. Genya was trying his hardest, but Sanemi doesn't think of him as his brother. Tanjiro knew it wasn't a normal fight because normal sibling fights look something like this. Sanemi clearly doesn't like Genya because he doesn't use breathing techniques. Genya told him he even ate the demon to keep fighting, which makes the situation even worse than before. Thankfully, Tanjiro saved Genya, or else he could have lost his eyes permanently. In this moment, the others fell flat knowing that the tyrant is coming. The noise of his footsteps was too twisted to even hear. Sanemi came out like a monster on a rampage and made it clear that he can't kill Genya, but he can permanently damage the guy. If Genya steps out of the Demon Slayer core, he will let him go. If he doesn't think of him as a brother, why go to such lengths? Just a little spoiler. Sanemi cares for his brother. Anyways, Tanjiro wouldn't let him damage Genya, so Sanemi thought, why shouldn't he just damage Tanjiro first? Yes, that's much more like it. But he stopped the attack in a moment of that flash encounter. He encountered him, the wind hashira again, which shocked the audience there. Tanjiro tells Zenitsu to take Genya away, meaning that he's also a partner in crime. Still no point in crying, so Zenitsu understood that Sanemi is cracked, but Genya punched him for insulting his brother. On the other side, Sanemi and Tanjiro with others went into a brawl. After that, Tanjiro was scolded by the higher-ups and banned from getting near Sanemi. So he moved on to the next level, but Zenitsu was pissed for how deep Stone Hashira leads. Then they heard waterfalls and went over there to see it. They saw kids having endurance training, but that's for kids. Real training is behind them, but it looks like they will get cooked in the fire of the underworld, this time with Gyome. Zenitsu knew this perfectly, which is why his expression became like this. Zenitsu knew he was screwed and nearly passed out. Gyome told them to first train their lower body by standing under the cold waterfall and then lift up the logs. If they clear that, then they have to move the boulder up to 350 feet. This time, Zenitsu officially passed out, hearing the intensity of training, so Gyome told Tanjiro to throw him in the river. That did the trick, and the little prick got up from the coldness of the cold water. No joke, cold weather plus cold water is brutal. Other victims of the same case told him to love the boulder. It's warm. Zenitsu hugged the stone in a flash and felt the love of Mama's embrace. But as for Tanjiro, he saw Inosuke was giving his all, but suddenly he went silent. Tanjiro understood bro fell unconscious, so he brought him out, helmet first. There he goes and pressured the water out. Later, Tanjiro experienced the same thing, and beside him was another dude. Tanjiro gave it his all but couldn't go on for too long and went over to hug a boulder instantly. That dude was impressed with Tanjiro and Inosuke, as they adapted to it so quickly, while it took him 10 days to get near the waterfall. To restore their stamina, Tanjiro cooked fish, and Inosuke thought Gyome was insane with the training, and realized Gyome is the strongest hashira. No doubt, can't argue there because Gyome has a different type of smell than other hashira. Others couldn't even speak up in the conversation. Zenitsu had enough and thought even Gyome wouldn't be able to move the boulder. But Tanjiro said Gyome moves double the size of this boulder and the proof is right behind him. Zenitsu kicked out Tanjiro again because he was dreaming of being that strong. Who told him to rub salt into the wounds? Because old man is a giant, and Zenitsu believes that a human shouldn't compare to a giant. Then, Inosuke prepared for log training and the madness continued. Now 2 besties went into the waterfall, but Thunder fell off and got swept away in the river. Fire saved him from there, and they again went on with that hell. Thankfully, they passed the waterfall soon, but now comes the log lifting. It was hard, but somehow Tanjiro cleared it up as well. On the other side, Upper Moon 4, Nakimi was locating every demon slayer, and almost 60% of them were located. But she couldn't find Nezuko yet. Michael Jackson was happy with the results she had acquired while sitting in the Infinity Castle. Nakimi was sending her eyes and got another one of the Demon Slayer's location and followed them. Muzan was planning to attack the stronghold of the Demon Slayer to get Nezuko. Unaware of it, Tanjiro moved on to the boulder pushing, but the heavyweight couldn't be pushed as his feet slipped. It's more difficult than it looked, and he saw some guys dropping out to join the support team because they couldn't endure the training. But Tanjiro was still counting on them because he would rely on the support to fight off the demons. That cheered them up to give it their all. And he went again with that boulder, but couldn't move an inch. Tanjiro made rice balls at lunchtime, and they all just loved his cooking. Murata knew that Hashira don't carry Tugo in training, but just a notion was enough to make them realize why. Because the living proof is Zenitsu, as his inner soul was crushed seeing the power gap of Hashira and him. Still, Hashira are kind of cool. Anyways, they were enjoying Tanjiro's cooking, so he made some new fired rice balls with miso soup to brighten up the lost souls. Seeing this, it reminded him of his family sitting around just like this together. So, remembering them, Tanjiro continued with everything yet no progress at all. But demons won't wait for him to grow, so Tanjiro was thinking of a way to get through it. Then came Genya. After that brawl, Gyomei lectured Genya and told him to stay away from Sanemi, just as Tanjiro was told. Tanjiro's mark was getting darker than before, so those who see him every day wouldn't notice, but it really did get darker. Genya decided to give him a mirror later, but for now, Genya was in the same training right now. Unlike Tanjiro, he was able to move his boulder because he was using repetitive motion. Tanjiro figured he never tried that out because Gyomei is not good at teaching, which is why they have to watch and learn from him. He chants Nenbutsu every time. So Tanjiro tried it out with the same advice that Gyomei had given to Genya to use memories as fuel to increase their power. The boulder moved just a little, but time had come for dinner, so Tanjiro went to cook for everyone there. Genya helped him out and asked if he tried the repetitive motion, because it seems like Tanjiro is in that state all the time, since his mark stays the same. But Genya and Gyomei don't have a mark. Genya then asked which memories get his emotions up, and realized soon he asked the wrong question. Still, nothing to worry about. On the next day, Tanjiro made an early morning start, and remembered his family and Rengoku for the repetitive motion to blaze up his power. It was a success this time, but he couldn't keep it up for long. Zenitsu and Inosuke thought Tanjiro would soon get tired from the early start, but Tanjiro remembered the same feeling. With the new sunrise, he set up his mind to see through it and moved the boulder, shocking the other two behind him. Tanjiro was getting stronger, but is the time enough for him? Because Michael Jackson was up to something, but Kagaya's actions were getting in the way. Still, our episode ends here.